Right, let's move on to our second Scottish Premiership game. And that was one of the only other... Now we've now gone down. So we talked about the game that had 2 goals in it. Now we're talking about one of the 2 games that had 1 goal in it. And the first one is at McDiarmid Park, where St Johnstone beat Hibs by a single goal. And a single goal was all they needed, Tony, because Hibs didn't create anything in the entire fucking game.
Wow. real bad. But I don't want to do that because it's very easy for me to go into tearing Hibs and that time will come. But like, I do want to talk a bit about St Johnstone. They already all think I'm a bitter high-wee cunt anyway, so... There are loads of positives for St Johnstone. We spoke about this the other week, Craig, about like the smarts Levine's brought to it. He understands the makeup of a team. He knows Jaisimi probably isn't an out-and-out striker. No. He knows Graham Carey probably isn't a second striker. But he understands that the building blocks to make a functional team, and he's missing a lot of the other players that he could use to do that. So he's had to think outside the box a bit. He's like, I need some sort of pace. I need a pace up there. This isn't going to work with a really defensive team with not a lot of creativity. Without that, there has to be someone who asks questions. Carey's got quality as well. So I'll have around the box a bit of quality, so I've got a decent delivery. You know, like these absolute must-haves, essentials to make a team function. And he's done that, and there was never going to be a question about him getting them organised. That was always going to happen. It was a really smart move for St Johnstone getting Levine in. The minute he done it, you're like, oh, that has probably sorted them out, actually. Like, because there's enough shit in this league that if you can get them sorted. But he's actually done a lot more than that, and like you're saying, it's the smart stuff of moving players into unusual positions that you wouldn't normally think would work out of necessity. Then he's brave enough to bring Franczak in. I mean, I don't think Levine's famed for bringing through youth. Instead of not putting a 16-year-old against Hibs, who he doesn't like, you know, but you really want to win that game, you know, he will, and that's not a criticism. He obviously will. The Hibs fans really wanted to win this game.
Craig Levine, especially in the recent years, loves stuck in a 16-year-old.
So, but Franczak was really good, and he really shows up the rest of that. Again, the St Johnstone team. Levine's showing the smarts. Franczak's got the agility, he's got the pace to become more of an attacking thing, because all the St Johnstone wing backs, they're fucking defenders. None of them are like, go forward, they don't do anything like that. So there's, again, he's thinking, Franczak, I need someone who can get down the wing and can actually put in. He spent a lot of the time up the park. And I thought he was really, really comfy on the ball. He had a really good game. Matt Smith and Dan Phillips had a really good game.
Phillips looks, he's looking like a very, very handy player for them now, isn't he?
Phillips is good. I'd take him. One of the, you start looking at that team, you're like, I'd definitely take Phillips. He's smart, he's clever, he's really good on the ball. And I think he needs to be in a 3 because you need the legs around him. But I think
that's why him and Smith work as a partnership, because Smith does have the legs.
Yeah, and he was really good at that.
It would be almost like a perfect Scottish Premiership partnership if either of them could score.
Yeah, because they were good on the day. But to move sort of towards Hibs, it's like the worst team that they could play. Sort of like sets up like this. And the biggest worry for Hibs now is under Montgomery. You can see what he wants to do, incessantly doing it, but things aren't quick enough to do that. And then you're seeing at the start of his tenure, Hibs were having bucket loads of shots, and they're getting less and less and less every week. But he was actually picking up a few wins. The Aberdeen win had an element of luck about it. Livingston, I mean, he still only had like 2 shots on target, but he willing to write that off because like it was a fucking minging day, or a completely minging pitch. So I was like, I don't want to give too much criticism about that, and the team made that work. But this was abysmal. It was properly like watching a team at the end of days stuff. Like, they were really like listless. No, like they were trying to do things that didn't work whatsoever. Eli Yuan had like a laughably bad game. Like, we're talking the Sam Lammers of this world. His touch was just bouncing off him everywhere. And they done it with Tavares, who was nowhere near as bad as that. But what they done in Hibs is they were playing the wide players coming inside a lot. I mean, Yuan actually looked like he was playing centre midfield. He wasn't. He was coming in for the, but he did so much when he had the ball. He was playing centrally. And Tavares done the same. And this is the difference. When teams are coming up against Hibs, when we're playing Whittaker at right back, they're asking him questions constantly. And that's fair enough. He's a 16-year-old fullback. Yeah, but when Tavares coming in, he's not actually asking Franczak. So Franczak, in a defensive sense, is having a bit of an easier game. If you're nervous making your full debut against Hibs, and you're like, fucking Yuan Boyle. Not saying he's like that. I'm going to get asked a lot. I'll be strong. Then they were taking the players away from him, which I found bizarre. You'd be like, actually, that's a child. Let's get the ball. Ask him.
That's a child.
Yeah, get him. And then in the midfield, they had Levitt.
Yeah, get to the goal. Get to the good.
Yeah,
bit.
yeah.
Come on. That's all very nice. But
Yeah, Levitt looked like he was having a good game, but it was just because he was getting the ball constantly, and so Johnstone were really letting him have it, and he was getting deep, and it looked like he was dictating the game, but Hibs weren't getting anywhere with it. And then really smart in the second half, they just done a 7 or 8 minute period to Johnstone where they upped their tempo, they upped the press. It was like Levine let them loose for we're going to go for the Hibs' throat for 10, 15 minutes. They've not really looked like they can hurt us in the first half. He really figured it all out right. And then Phillips is suddenly much higher up on Levitt, who's not getting to see the ball. Smith as well, Carey, much higher up the pitch. And there was a period before the goal where you see basically the whole highlights of that game was a 5 minute period in the second half. I mean, you watched the first half, they showed you this little goal, and then it moved to the second half on Sports Scene. So they done that, and they pressed Hibs, and they made low chat, and Kukurevich could have scored when that was a sitter, really. He should have scored, and he just shot a shot before that was really well saved. And then Levitt took it off the goalie, and don't know what's going on in his head. He's pinged it directly into Carey's. It's so no even going over. He obviously wants to go over his head. It hits him in the stomach. It's like drilled. It looks sore. Actually drilled into his stomach. And then Carey, again, like I'm saying, if you're going to play a team like Hibs and you're going to try and press it a bit, they don't have a lot of quality, St Johnstone. So Carey's the only one who's got that little bit. He could whip a ball and he could strike, and the shots great. And again, that shows the smarts of Levine to really, really sat down and thought, this is the clock I've got. We are going to have to make this piss. And he's really, really thought about it. And it really worked. But yeah, it's really, really worrying at times because Hibs have got such
this is the clock I've got. I'm going to have to make this piss.
It's like someone at a music festival has been up all night.
I've never heard that saying said in that way. Structured in that way.
It's a turn of phrase. Yeah. I'm expecting like John go, of course.
Yes.
But so it gets worrying. Like Dylan Venti, for example, who's good. He is good. He doesn't got. You don't hear any criticism of Venti for the Hibs fans because it's just worrying because of the way that the team lined up, especially with Lefondre taking out the team. He ends up almost being the second striker because he wants Boyle to play him behind. And you're like, so Venti, who you know is really good in front of goal, I mean, chances he's basically blocking a defensive midfielder. It's all more about his work rate. He's set up quite a few goals recently, but it's like we're just not using his powers whatsoever. And the same with Boyle, it's like, especially in a game like that, I'd be thinking, let's drop Boyle off because we're struggling to break in a team. Let's see him ball carry. Let's just get him chasing at people for 5 minutes to see how it is. And I think sometimes there's a real stubbornness about it, when that period in the 5 minutes against Johnstone, let's start going long for 2 minutes. Let's just get out. We're under the cosh for a little while. Let it calm down. Then we go back to what we're doing. Yeah. That's not going against your principles. It's just managing the game in that period because they're obviously out and you've made a few mistakes already. Let's calm down. We're not in a good place at the moment. And I think he'll argue that he wants to make the principles stick. You need to do that over and over. It needs to be repetition. And I get that. But he just has to he'll need to get his right players. And the thing is, in the transfer market, if he wants to play this very specific style constantly, he can't have a failure in the transfer market. They're all going to have to be perfect to come in and sort of do it. And then you took Neil out of that team, you see what happened. It just couldn't function.
Yeah.